Well, today we're going to be working on the outboards. I've got this ready to do the initial break-in, but I've finished repairing my other outboard, so I'm going to actually take that on a test run. I tested it here, but I want to put a load on it, make sure all those gears are working right. So I'm going to do a quick run, take that out, put on the kayak, run around a bit, and then come back and then do the initial 15 and 1 hour break-in here. So that's the plan for today. Well, I was going to drive all the way out the Shark Channel, but then I remembered there's a launch right here in Key West that's not ever really busy. And I just want to run the motor. I'm not going to do any fishing, so this worked out perfectly. Not too far from home. Got the motor, everything's ready to go. Do a test drive. One of the things I repaired while I had the motor apart was the water pump. It was plugged at the outlet and at the pickup. Had like chunks in there. So it's peeing like it's supposed to now, so that's a good sign as well. Let's see if this thing's gonna work. Idling is good. Acceleration works. So far. Yeah, we're chugging along fine. No clunking, no slipping out of gear, so I think we're all good. Well, that was a success. It all works fine, no problems, no clunks, no slips, so very happy with that. So that's up and running for sure. So now I think just got to go home, and then I'm going to do the initial break-in on the new motor. I don't think I'm going to bring that out on the kayak today. I've got stuff I need to do, and it's gonna be windy as crap out there. I'm just happy I remembered about this place, so I didn't have to drive a half an hour each way to get out the Shark Channel and deal with traffic and stuff. So this is really good. So let's get back. Today we're gonna break in the new Suzuki. Now there's 3 preliminary steps that you need to do as soon as you unbox it from the packaging. 1, you're going to be adding motor oil. It comes dry, so you need to add oil to the level. 2, need to verify that the lower unit, the gear oil, is to the right level. And then 3 is to add gasoline. To add oil, just going to pop off the 2 rubber latches and lift straight up. You want to make sure it clears the cap, is the only thing that'll hold it up. And you can just angle it out of the way. And we're looking for the yellow cap for the oil fill and the oil indicator here. Here you can see the yellow cap where you're going to pour the oil, and then right below it here is the oil indicator. So it's a clear glass cover. You can see a red dot in the center, and just below and above it you'll see a couple of red dot marks. That is where you want your oil level to be when the motor is off and sitting in a perfect vertical position. To check the oil range in the lower end, there's 2 basic screws on the bottom behind the prop. The lower one is actually the filler screw, and the top one is the level indicator. So the way it works is that you'll generally get either a hand pump with a tube that butts up against this, or you can just get the squeeze tube, put the nozzle against the bottom, have both screws out, put the nozzle to the bottom, start pressurizing it by inserting oil through the bottom. It'll fill up from the bottom up, and then once it reaches to the level here, it'll start oozing out. Then you know that you're filled to capacity. Put the screw in, and that'll cause kind of a vacuum, which will prevent it from leaking out the bottom, which will allow you to put the bottom screw in. So really what you're looking for is, if you take the top screw out, the oil level should be right to the bottom level of that screw. And lastly, just going to put in some gas. Take the cap off. You don't want to fill up to the upper rim here, so you just want to fill it up just to the lower portion of the neck there. When you put the cap back on, and then you want to make sure that the vent is open. So clockwise, doing just like tightening a bolt. is sealed, so when you're transporting it, the fuel won't leak out, especially like when I line mine on the side in the car. But when you're running it, it needs to breathe and break that vacuum, so you just release it, and then that allows air in there. But that's also why you don't want to overfill it, because pressure will shoot out the gas. So the total break-in actual run time is 10 total hours. So the way it works is you basically want to start off by just getting it started and running it at idle, not in gear, in neutral, for about 5 minutes, just to get the motor running and just warmed up. After that 5-minute period, then you can kick it in gear at the low idle and just let it run in gear for about 15 minutes, which will basically warm up everything. After that, you can run the rest of the first 2 hours by running it at a maximum of half throttle. And you can vary it so you don't have to stay at half throttle, but you can kind of go up to half, but maximum half, go back down, and just vary it up a bit. Once that initial 2 hours is complete, then you could do a 1 hour at 3/4 throttle. And once again, you could max out at 3/4, but you can kind of just vary it between half and 3/4. Just don't go over that 3/4 mark on that 1 hour. So that's a total of 3 hours. The following 7 hours is basically normal run time with full throttle maxed out with a total length of 5 minutes at a time. So you can run it at full throttle, but just stop at 5 minutes and then back it down, go a quarter, half, 3/4 throttle. Once you run that for a while, then go back up to full throttle, maximum 5 minutes, and just run it varying like that, so you can just use it as normal, just remembering you can't just go full throttle more than 5 minutes. And that'll be for 7 hours, and that'll complete the 10-hour break-in time frame. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the 5-minute warm-up to get the motor running. Then I'm going to do the 15-minute in gear, in low gear, low throttle, and just let it cycle through here. Once that's completed, I'm going to change out my motor oil and put in new oil, and then I'm probably going to take it out to the actual ocean and then do the completion of the first 2 hours by running it at half throttle. As you see, it's kind of windy today, and it's going to be kind of rough. It's getting a little late, so I'm just going to do this initial part here, and then the rest will be on the water. The basic steps for the initial start: want to make sure the cap is on tight, make sure the vent is open. Next, you're going to want to make sure that the fuel is on, which for mine is going towards the back of the motor. You want to verify that it is out of gear and in neutral. So facing forward is in gear, facing back is in neutral. It has a little sticker there. Because this is the first initial start, we're going to utilize the choke because it's cold. We're going to pull the choke out, and then on the lever there's actually a start run. So it's about a 1/4 of an inch turn from the bottom, and there's a little arrow. So you're just going to put that on that initial start there with the choke. We're going to verify that the emergency stop key is in. If that's not in and that plunger is loose, it won't start. It kills the ignition. Make sure all of our clamps are snug, and we're ready to start. Now that it's been idling for about 5 minutes, it's warmed up. So now we're going to just kick it in gear, keep the RPMs down, and just let that lower end start breaking in as well. And we're going to put the timer on 15 minutes. Now I just have it in neutral with the fuel valve shut off on the other side, and it's just going to burn what's left of the carburetor in the line. And we'll be all done. Now I'm just going to go ahead and change the oil out, since there's no really removable filter. So I'm just going to take out the old oil, which might have some contaminants in it from just the break-in, and put new oil in. Just inside from underneath of the handle, there's a slotted screw that's kind of recessed up in there. That's the oil drain plug. So you'll take the cap off on the top where the filler is, take this screw out, and then the oil will just drain out. So that's the initial break-in. We did the 5 minutes on the motor, just warming it up. Another 15 minutes in gear, low gear, and just idle circulation. tomorrow I'm going to take it on the kayak, and then we've got an hour and 40 minutes of basically from idle to half throttle for an hour and 40 minutes. And then after that I can go up to 3/4 throttle for an hour. And I'll probably try to work in some fishing tomorrow since the weather's slowly down tapering, so the evening might be okay. And then after that I'll probably try to do a full day's fishing, because only thing I have to do there is just 5-minute maximum full throttle, and the rest of the time can just vary, and I'll do that on a normal day, so that should be work fine on its own. And after that it's done and I can just treat it like normal. So until tomorrow.